Okay, y'all, I am absolutely cheating because my gelatin went bad, but I'm using acrylic paint and it's going to act the same way as your pigments that you've made. And I've got all the colors that you would be using. I'm just going to do a quick demo. I want you guys to spend more time on these. And I also, if you guys want to use your Jello pigment to do some of the background, you can. That's just an option. And I have my image next to me. I'm just going to start laying down some of the darker areas, just blocking them out. And these might turn darker eventually with the black, but I'm going to try to avoid using that. And just like with acrylic paint, you would use water to thin it to make it lighter. You can use more of the binder, and you can also use water. So I don't know if you guys can see at this point, but I'm using a thinner amount of pigment here because there's a little bit of a grayer, light gray area versus that black. This is for the chin. I might mix some of this red in the umber. And you can also, for some of the mid-tone areas, you can use the tea stain paper as the pigment, so you won't have to put paint on that part. We are still kind of avoiding using lines. I'm going to start defining the shapes outside of her face, because I think on some of this I can use the paper color. And keep in mind that I'm doing a quick demo, so I want you guys to kind of focus a little bit more time on these than I'm going to be doing. And right now, like with the paintbrush, I barely have any paint on it. I'm just kind of lightly going over some of these areas with what I have left on my brush. And it's always nice or a good idea to kind of go a little bit lighter than you think, because you can always add darkness like very easily. It's harder to take it away. I've messed up a little bit of this outline, but I can bring it back in with the yellow ochre and possibly some white. There's some reflected light right here on her chin. And be like okay with getting like a little bit loose with the paint. You don't have to, especially here around the hair. I mean, you can build that up later. Just try to be fluid with it. And I don't care what color her hair is. It doesn't have to be realistic. What I want you guys to really try to focus on for this is getting her face to look three-dimensional. And the direction of the brush strokes actually matters as well. So you want to keep them, like for the face, I'm kind of drawing on with the shape of it. It comes down and it also comes out. And here, I'm just going to try to get a really light grazing color. That's going to be adding more of the gelatin. And I'm trying my best not to use any of the white until the very end and on the very brightest lights. So I'm going to go ahead and add some water right here and then add some of this ochre so that it goes on translucent, more translucently. I can brighten this up just a little bit. Got a little carried away with this brown over here. I don't have a smaller brush. I usually paint really large. This is the smallest I have, so I'm going to try my best get these very tiny details. It's a good idea to pay attention to the shape that you're about to execute before doing it. If you can visualize the shape that you're painting, it'll save you a lot of strife. So I know that I'm painting this curve of her, where her eyelashes would be, and I pay attention to what it looks like on the paper, and then I try to mimic that with my hand. It's too dark. And it's okay, I mean, it's a great idea to build this up, to paint it a lot lighter than what you see, and then kind of build and add darkness to that. It's going to look a lot more realistic that way. So this eyelid here, you can see how translucently I'm kind of getting these details in. That's going to be your best bet going into it. You don't want to attack it with like really thick amounts of paint. Let yourself build up to that so you can make sure that you have it accurately drawn and painted in before you make it really solid, because you can't, it's going to be so hard to take away once you've got it a really heavy, thick amount of paint on it. Try to lighten this up. I'm going to mix a little bit of the white with this yellow. I got the shadow on this cheekbone much too dark right here. So you guys can add white to your turmeric or your yellow clay. I think because we had some issues getting the yellow to be bright enough, you're probably going to need to mix some turmeric in with your yellow clay. And when you see yourself make mistakes, it's not the end of the world. There's always a way to fix something, and it's going to happen. The best thing to do is leave it alone for a second, focus on another part, and especially if you don't know exactly why it doesn't look the way that you want it to, focus somewhere else and then go back to that spot. A little bit more white. Nope, too much. That's almost the color of the tea, which is good. Getting these features darker. These lips are almost completely black, so you can get, once you've got them somewhat defined accurately, you can go back through and keep building up the darkness. And this isn't an easy piece to copy. I mean, this is a Leonardo da Vinci, so oops. Don't be hard on yourself. This is a challenging piece. Also, don't be too easy on yourself. I'm gonna start kind of getting back in some of these like little details of color. And I'm adding a little bit of this red. And as I start to continue to build this up, it's just gonna start to pop more and more. I have no issue if you guys, obviously this red is not something that you guys are going to have because it's so much brighter than the red clay we have. I was just doing my best to mimic. This is called red ochre, but it's a lot more vibrant on the paper. But just take your time. Use extra gelatin and water with your paint to define the shadows before you just start putting like really thick paint on. You're going to be really upset if you do that, I think. Which, I mean, you can always start over also. If you know, do one and you learn a lot from mistakes, from being a beginner, which is going to happen, feel free to do it on another piece of Stonehenge. And experiment a little bit with how you can use your paint with water and gelatin to kind of make this translucent feel. Try to have some fun with it. I know this is like a very daunting painting to do, but you can kind of play around with some of the elements like I just did with her face, or with around her face. And I haven't added black yet, and I really don't want to. I think you can get dark enough with a thick enough layer of the umber. And also you're going to notice that if you just try to start painting the features without painting some of the stuff around them, you're going to probably get frustrated because it's going to look strange without these contrasts. So really pay attention to the whole piece. Paint it as an entire picture and not one little section at a time. Try to keep moving around and around the page. Notice where the darkest darks are and the lightest lights are, and just stay constantly focused on those things. I think this is as far as I'm going to take mine, because this is just kind of to show you guys how to move the paint around. Obviously I'm usually in class doing this, but I don't do an entire Leonardo for the class. I just kind of work with all of you. Until you get it. And there's definitely a lot of things that I can still add that's going to make this look more complete, but I don't need to do that for y'all. I think that you guys can get it. It's just going to take some practice. And if you have questions and you're in the middle of doing it and you are like, I just don't know how to make this look right, please just email me a picture of your painting, and I guarantee you I can walk you through it, and we could also Zoom until we get it right. Just don't be afraid to reach out to me, because this is a Leonardo da Vinci.
Please recharge the battery. Powering on.
Alright, well, I will see you guys soon, and good luck, and let me know if you need help.